Yeah, so what are your keys to this matchup? Is there anything that you're focusing on objectively for Kash? Like you said, the Feeny would be pretty good. Is what do you think is the game plan? I think it's got to be take early prizes with what is the first attack called? Um, really testing my knowledge with the
L connector.
cell
I
connector. I say,
definitely didn't know that. I
yeah.
looked.
Oh,
Don't think I'm built different. I really did have to look. Um, so
Stellar probably like 20 or 4 or so, like a little bit above 20 for top 8. If we hit 5 rounds, I'll
wait a
do top
second.
8. Yeah.
Are they really? Are they playing the 70 HP Trubbish? That's the Trubbish. They're playing the 70 HP Forbidden Light Trubbish. Oh wait, that
You
actually
mean
doesn't matter.
you
You
mean
Diancie.
Froakie
Okay.
or
Yeah, 70 HP Froakie. Sorry, the 70 HP Trubbish was obviously the better one.
yeah? I
But
don't even. Is there a 60 HP legal in this format? 20 plus.
yeah,
Yeah.
bubble.
No, I was thinking you were talking about Trubbish though, because you said Trubbish.
Oh, okay, okay.
Anyway, so we are here. Um, in top 4, we do have Kash, on the excuse me, Zygarde Lycanroc deck up against, is this
Oh,
Lime on the Greninja deck?
I guess that we both have to watch that match on the chat because you can't put it into Discord and
That's true.
into. Okay, that's fine. I've got it pulled up. Hopefully, we're not far away from each other to like in the VOD to make this possible.
There we go.
A Ringaroo start definitely not where you want to be for Cash,
We do have
but
a
with a float
Floatstone.
stone in
Yeah.
hand, you're not as frustrated.
You do also have a Brooklet Hill. There's the Max Elixir, the Ultra Ball. Um, the sequencing of this is interesting because you could use the Brooklet Hill first if you wanted to really maximize your chances of hitting this Max Elixir. That's why you also see, I think, the Ultra Ball being played first. Might go get something like a Lele, get out a supporter. You can kind of just thin out a few of these other cards you don't want to hit that aren't going to be energy. But you might actually want to hold off on the Brooklet Hill use because you want to actually draw more Pokemon potentially. So you could throw out the Brooklet Hill and use your supporter and such if you wanted to, but maybe save the Brooklet Hill so you can potentially draw into more of your basic Pokemon. But here I think we're just going to see the Brooklet Hill use the Max Elixir played, and then definitely a Instruct as well. Max Elixir first. Okay. So this makes me think that Kash is not going to use the Brooklet Hill. I'll put it down for sure, but not actually. Actually, they don't even have. It's an interesting consideration because they give the Brooklet Hill to Greninja. So Greninja actually getting to use that, it could have been a consideration to just not play it at all. And another consideration that we didn't see Kash use the Instruct on a Rangaroo. So they could have actually drawn 2 cards before playing that Sycamore. I know some players really, really adamantly prefer to not use it beforehand because they just know they're definitely going to, draw into some valuable resources that they'd have to discard with that Sycamore. But it's kind of unlikely that you are able to thin your hand out enough after the Sycamore. So interesting consideration. The Staryu does get KO'd here, so a lot of good aggression from Kash with the Zygarde's attack. Will not get to accelerate any energy, but still able to get that KO, put out pressure, and you have a 200 HP basic Pokemon staring you down at the moment.
Yeah, and Zach's still going to be able to take a knockout even on a Frogadier on this next turn, so still in a pretty solid position for where this large HP Pokemon wants to be. I believe that Zygarde has 200.
But the Enhanced Hammer does push the Zygarde out of range currently, being able to take out
attachment plus Brooklet Hill for Dicey gets you there. So
yeah, but it's just
still,
wow. Wait, they're playing the other Frogadier. The one that does 20
Whoa. Yeah,
damage?
he's one of the Forbidden Light Frogadier.
Wow.
Wow, the spice. So the Forbidden Light Frogadier, for those who don't know, because it was never played in this deck, not an insult to the opponent, but just because it's not something you frequently see in Greninja lists, has Golbat's ability. It does 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Or it's not damage, it just plays 2 damage counters, but who's counting? So the logic is that you could still get one of the water duplicates ones that you needed with like a search card, search for that one, and then you'd want to evolve that one first so that like when you shuffled it back in, you evolve to a Frogadier in the mid game, or with Splash Energy, you could get it back and do that 20 damage ping. It's cute. I don't know if it's effective, but it works.
You know what? At the end of the
Interested.
day, it's exciting to see. Exciting to see it get some versatility here.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see. Was Diancie not in deck?
It was
The
in
Brooklyn
deck.
Hill?
I'm very surprised by this play as well. Could have gotten the KO there. We'll see. I was like, we don't even see a supporter here. I like keeping the supporters around because it's actually likely that if the Greninja player is able to draw out of this at some point, they're gonna want to play an N, and you can keep cards like Cynthia in your deck to draw off of a potential N later in the game.
Well, the good news is also knowing that. I mean, if you're also wanting to like the next best thing for you to do would be to power up a Lycanroc, but since your whole bench is full, like you're not benching a Rockruff anytime soon. So what else are you really shuffling for when you have
Yeah.
attachments? There is a counter catcher bringing up that Diancie, as we mentioned, that or as you mentioned that it could be a Shadow Stitching liability.
And
But there
that was my
are
thinking, yeah.
there is DZE in Cash's list. He does have 4 of them.
And a
Try to
Guzma
use spell
top deck.
connectors quickly. Skill difference. That's
Yeah, that Guzma top deck. I think this can even take out this Lele, just go down to 2 prizes. But this is still very dangerous territory because you could be playing right into
right an
an
N.
N. But the Verdict GX, is it prevent all effects of attacks done by just EX and GX Pokemon, I think is the caveat to that GX attack.
Yeah, that's what it said. Man, aren't you lucky that Cash clicked that just so you could read Verdict GX off the screen? Because I definitely had no idea what it was called.
I know,
I'm
right?
not gonna pretend to know.
Thank you so much, Cash, for doing
Not-
your civic duty for the stream.
yeah, successfully held over the cards so that we
Yes.
could look at it.
Oh my god, Pinky with the 5 gift subs to Matman, Darla, Rotom, TCG, Ludicrous, and Millennial. Thank you
Yo,
so much. And you know what that means?
that's
Later, we are going to be seeing Zender's cat featured on stream. If you're watching on YouTube, unfortunately, you'll miss it. But this is incentive to come watch the live streams because you will get to see things like Zender's cat.
it's already
No signal.
oh.
We'll show it after the match here. But thank you so
Oh,
much,
it's because
Pinky.
it's coming through my capture card.
Yeah.
That's why. For some reason, it's through my capture card, not my web.
We'll get
later.
you. We'll get it to it later. But in the meantime, again, thank you so much, Pinky. Absolutely appreciate that. Thank you so much for that again. But yeah, going back into our match here, we did see Nen, so that was exactly what I was talking about. Now this is kind of scary territory off of that N, but you do still have a fully charged up 200 HP Zygarde, 160 HP left, I should say, but you're not getting a KO on this active. Cash does have the.
You are
Guzma.
indeed short by 20. No Diancie can view with Shadow Stitching. I mean, Land's Wrath is still a 2-shot.
Mm. And you do have the Guzma follow-up, so if like this break goes to the bench or something, you could target it down. I might have liked to see the Field Blower played from Cash just to thin it out from potential ends. You could actually have even used it to discard your own choice band to just
Yeah,
thin
you
it
already
out
knock out
potential
on the
ends.
only GX that's in the
Yeah,
list.
exactly.
So they like super rotted it back and then you use it, but that sounds like mediocre at best.
Hazy, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. We are in top 4. Riley's Retro number 3. This is the 2018 Worlds format. Game 1, we are featuring Kash here with the Zygarde Lycanroc deck up against Lime with the Greninja deck. Things are looking pretty... they're still looking pretty good for Kash. We do still have a bunch of attackers able to be putting out pressure. I think the Zygarde and the active is going down this turn with that perfect math with the Giant Water Shuriken into Moonlight Slash. Or, excuse me, into the Shadow Stitching, which is that perfect
Well,
math.
it's kind of sketchy still because the Zygarde on the bench is not going to be taking a knockout. There's not enough energy for Cash to do that. There's going to have to be a cell connector involved to
Well, not
get
if we hit
the
this
needed
Elixir.
energy to attack. Oh, yeah, now without Elixir, but there's still Shadow Stitching, so you need to, like,
Yeah,
top
you do
deck
have,
it. Okay.
you have Guzma.
I guess you're the slightest bit ahead of me, because to me
Yeah.
it just seemed like just predicted the Max Elixir top deck. I was
I
like, that's
did. What are you talking
that's
about?
the that skill difference right there.
So I like this play from Cash to hold the DCE, to not attach it because they did hit the Max Elixir, because Cell Connector attaches energy from the discard pile, so you don't actually need to commit the DCE, and now you preserve it as a way to help retreat anything that might want to get stranded in the active, like that Oranguru, like the Zygarde or the Diancie. So really good heads up play to just preserve those resources in hand.
Yeah, everything on the board can either attack for a DCE or retreat with a DCE.
Exactly. And with just one prize left for Cash, I think this is still very much a favorable position for them, especially with the DCE being able to come down on that second Zygarde at any point, and you can just charge up another attacker. Feels like the momentum is definitely on Cash's side, but this N could definitely change that. N to 1 into potentially a Shadow Stitching, and Cash finds a Buzzwole.
Or that they could have drawn. Absolutely.
Oh, but you do see the Lele committed. Now, of course, it's not really going to matter at this point, since Cash does only have one prize left, but...
To be fair, if there is if for some reason they aren't able to get a knockout, they are at 4 prizes. So Sledgehammer is a line. If they top deck a strong energy, that's actually game if they left the grid up.
Well, and this is interesting because... Oh, and it's Sycamore top deck. Wow. I was going to say it's interesting because you have to retreat the break, and you can't push up the Greninja on the bench to use Shadow Stitching. So actually getting to... I mean, the top deck of the Sycamore kind of takes away the suspense of it, but the Instructability is usable there. So... and with this Lele in the active, like you were saying, that Sledgehammer could potentially take a KO, but I think the active Zygarde still does at least 130 base, 150 now with Diancie, since that is active. So really only looking for, I don't know if there's a choice band left, maybe a strong energy left, but out of bands, yeah. So I think you're still in such a good position where if at any point you draw Guzma, the game's over anyway. I kind of like the attachment to the Lele here. Just a pretty safe attacker. We have Guzma in hand for the following turn. I would love to see this Ultra Ball thin out some of these dead cards. I'm not sure how many ends the Greninja player has played, but we've seen, I think, at least 2 get discarded there, so... I'd like to see Cash thin out a few of these dead cards like that Field Blower, maybe the Rock Ruff as well. Just goes for the Cell Connector, putting the pressure on, and it comes down to whether Greninja has any kind of response to this. Evo Soda gets a second break, so that's a good start. Another Evo Soda.
But only 150 damage to this Tapu Lele is notably not a knockout.
Yeah, but the N
So
is huge. So what, Xander, what are you thinking that, I mean, what is Greninja's line here? Is there a way you can not lose as we see Cash get end into Cynthia?
I mean, so you kind of have to assume that your opponent draws bad. So kind of sad that if you are the Greninja, that your opponent draws straight into a Cynthia. But the only thing on your board, they need a Guzma to take a knockout with this retreat. So your best play is to probably set up a knockout over 2 turns, uh, or to give abilities back. It actually might be the correct thing to give abilities back because Moonlight Flash does take the knockout, and you don't have anything on your board that 70 HP or less, so it's not like you're gonna die to a cell connector. So you get the 2 prizes, and if you're assuming your opponent draws bad, you make them find the DCE. I mean, off of Cynthia, they're gonna do that, but they're still not out of it. Greninja, as annoying as it is, it just has incredible comeback potential. Like you get your reward for setting up a stage 3 when
Yeah,
it happens.
absolutely.
So this is
Yeah,
looking like it's going to be a Moonlight Flash for them out, and then you really just have to hope that your opponent doesn't draw well. I mean, even if Cash doesn't hit a DCE off of the Cynthia, he's still in a struggling spot.
yeah. Well, it's tenuous because, like you said, you kind of want to hope that your opponent doesn't draw well. But if you give abilities back, which it looks like we're going to see with this water attachment, this kind of signifies the Moonlight Slash here. It does activate Oranguru, so you are still giving your opponent a top deck plus an additional card off Oranguru, maybe even two if they can play a card or two. Um, but I think at this point the situation is so dire. We just see a Shadow Stitching. Very interesting.
Interesting, because
A
there's no
second
face-up
Cynthia.
knockout. I
Yeah.
guess. Oh, okay. This is actually pretty cute. If they draw dead, double giant water shuriken on a Rangaroo and like attack puts you at 1 prize left. Like you definitely have some really sick lines you could do with giant water shuriken. I think that without healing immediately is an option, even though there's 2 max potions. But the I think you're setting yourself up to heal the one on the bench with a max potion or something, and you have to do 2 giant water shurikens to take a knockout.
Yeah, but we see here that Cash was able to find a Guzma off that Cynthia. So once again, Greninja needs to find that N. And I think at this point, they must have played at least 3 of them. I think only 6 cards left in deck, too. Doesn't seem terribly likely that they have, with only 2 cards in hand now that are non-water energies that we know of. But they can go fishing for them. If maybe they have 1 prize where they can take the KO on that bench. Zygarde, so they do go down to 2 prizes.
You can still do knockout Zygarde with giant water shuriken, second giant water shuriken on the Buzzwole, knockout Bull with Moonlight Flash. And then you left your opponent with no energy on board other than the DCE they have on Lele, which is enough to knock out the Tapu Lele, but I mean you can't play around at all.
Yeah, at some point, you have to play around what you think is the most likely eventuality, and also you still have to, you have to progress your own win condition at the same time. So to a certain degree, you're like, okay, well, if they ever have this, I lose. I have to still play toward my out of winning the game. Um,
Yeah.
so we see that here. Again, I don't think it's likely that there's an N in that hand. I don't know if there's any enhanced hammers left unaccounted for. I know one was played earlier. This giant water shuriken damage coming down.
There's 3 enhanced hammer on the list, which is really solid, but to be able to get rid of these DCEs. However, not being one right now might very well be game 1 to Cash.
And that is going to be the case. We just see the Shadow Stitching. No N is played. And there is the Guzma. The Lele will be able to take the KO with Energy Drive, taking down Greninja in game 1 for Cash.
Actually, wait a second. Oh, I can make chat pop out. Oh, that's great. Made chat pop out from your stream. And then now I can have Cash's stream larger. but still see your chat because
Yes, for
that's
those
where the gamers are.
watching on YouTube later, we are very fortunate that Cash is actually live streaming on Twitch right now, their point of view of this match. So we are able to actually have a featured match for you. So huge shout out to them for having that available to us.
Yeah.
And
So
moving into
just
game
for
two,
people who
wow.
are checking in, yeah, just for people who are checking in, that draw pass is intentional to make it so that players who go first can play a supporter. The player that goes first draws a card and passes. It does give them an extra card, which is not true to the format, but it's a much bigger deal to not be able to play a supporter turn one.
We see the donk meat do it. Love to see the sportsmanship in these events for sure. I know we've had some good banter. Need some stuff to get there. Yeah. It is definitely possible though. So we need to find a Zygarde to attack with, a DCE, and a Diancie. We'll do it. I need you to whiff, sir.
I
And a
once I can see the
Floatstone?
hand, I can tell you. I mean,
Yeah.
you need some cards, is what it is.
Well, so if looking at this hand, though, I mean, you have the Floatstone in hand already. You could hit this Max Elixir potentially, and then attach a basic fighting, or you could hold out for a strong energy. I'm not sure how many strongs Cash plays, if even any. But the Max Elixir whiffs, so I feel like now, how hard do you go for this donk now if you've already used your Brooklet Hill and whiffed the um you whiffed the elixir? Are we holding the attachment and going for DCE off an N perhaps, or even just like attaching and passing? Your opponent didn't do anything
If
after that Cynthia, so
if it was game three, I probably would attach an energy. But because it's game two, I think you high roll a little bit more because you're up a game.
mm-hmm.
And we'll see what happens here off of this. And looks like a whole lot of nothing. Actually, just a pretty bad hand overall.
Yeah,
Not a
this hand
hand
is
that nets
not
another
good.
draw supporter. Yeah.
At
Um,
at the very least, we do have Diancie plus attachment and a Guzma, so we can chase down um, a, a Froakie, a Frogadier. We can just obviously retreat the active as well. So at least we have that going for us if we're Cash. But yeah, not looking so great out of that N with City. Yeah.
I feel like you probably stilled the Diancie here. Unless, like, they have a new hand. So the odds that they, like, draw a pass are pretty bad.
Well, you also have the
Uh,
Brooklet Hell out, so I think regardless of if
yeah.
anything happens to the Diancie while it's in your hand, you can just go get it next turn, unless
Oh, yeah.
Greninja wants to Field Blower the. We could actually see. I think Greninja usually played Brooklet Hill of their own at this point, so we could actually see a funny play where you use the Brooklet Hill, Field Blower away, Cash's Brooklet Hill, and then play your own Brooklet Hill.
Yeah, Rough Seas
Um,
was not legal in this format.
yeah, and actually we might
I
see that play.
keep
No.
having to tell myself that Rough Seas is not legal.
Okay, and we do see. I keep forgetting about the Forbidden Light Frogadier that just hit the bench there, but we do see the full 4 frogs in play off that water duplicates, and the splash energy was found for the active, which is really nice to be able to preserve the Froakie underneath, and also that Frogadier that could evolve the Froakie on the bench.
Hopefully, they play a little bit of attention. If they bench the Diancie, they have to knock out one of the 70 HP Frogadiers with the Guzma. They cannot knock out the 80 HP one with the.
Yeah,
Looks like
just the
attaching and
active.
retreating is what's considered.
Well, it's good because it does act. You do get use out of the cell connector to put a fighting onto your active. So I like
Yeah,
that play better than the
I
Guzma.
think I was thinking that my line that I was thinking of was that you actually retreat to the Diancie and then you Guzma something else so that you don't
Mm.
give back the free card off the splash energy. Because you can still just retreat and then you'll have the energy in the discard pile. I mean, and it went straight here, but it's just that would let you Guzma if you decided that you wanted to. But they went ahead. They still got a prize anyway and an extra energy on the board. Hand's still looking bad. Just gotta say it.
But I like the preservation of the Guzma here because maybe if you need to buy a turn at some point. Like just give yourself some options. But we do have an Oranguru draw, so and there's no Greninja evolution from Lime here. They just retreated and evolved into the Frogadier, so they didn't really do anything that turn. Kash is able to bench a few Pokemon, potentially play this Guzma to take a KO on one of the frogs for sure makes the most sense. And then we can draw some additional cards with Instruct here.
Yep, so it looks like Instruct is going to draw 2 cards here. Not benching the Buzzwole seems pretty good as the correct thing to be doing. Not great in this matchup. Do you bench the Rockruff here with Lycanroc in hand? He decides no. But I wonder, you're probably getting Shadow Stitching in most situations. So it's probably not right.
Yeah, I think well, there's already the Rockruff down, so I don't know that you want to use your last bench base on something like a second Rockruff when you might need to preserve a bench base for like a Tapu Lele at some point if you do ever get access to abilities. But Greninja does actually finally draw something here with that Ultra Ball, going to get Lele, finding Sycamore, and they'll get a couple Greninjas, actually going to get 3 Greninjas this turn. That is exactly what they needed to see.
3 Greninjas, that's a heck of a setup. I mean, you can't really ask for it much better.
No, definitely not. And we do just see the Shadow Stitching to end the turn. But Kash does have a Sycamore, so able to finally draw out of this slow start. But we even with this, we say that slow start for Kash, but they still took 2 prizes. They're still being very aggressive in the matchup. This is a matchup that definitely favors them in the early game if they are able to get aggressive with their early game. So, I mean, for all that Kash has been struggling to get set up, they are still taking KO, still putting out pressure, and they could very well get a KO this turn with just another energy attachment, which they find plenty of.
Yeah, but the thing with this deck is Greninja is definitely going to beat you late game. You are 2-shotting at Greninja with the exception of your GX attack, as they are Shadow Stitching, and so they are going to just, in terms of the prize race, they're going to far outmatch you. You kind of have to win the game early, and since Kash was a little bit behind the 8 ball on getting attachments up. Like, I know that he's still at 3 prizes, but that still could be a really rough spot.
Well, and like,
with no breaks in play, Kash's his opponent's position is far worse than it was last game.
No breaks in play yet. We do see the end of 3 for Kash, and we do at least have 2 Greninjas that can potentially evolve this turn. So that lack of breaks could very well turn into we could very well see some breaks hitting the field, especially off this this N. Why is the screen shrinking? But no breaks found, and we do just have the Shadow Stitching to end the turn. At least there is that splash energy on the active, so when this Greninja does go down, we get the whole evolution line back to hand, and Kash did get to find a Cynthia off of that end of 3, so once again continuing to draw pretty well off of these ends to continue the
However,
pressure.
without a break from his opponent, there's still going to be a knockout from what is it, Nature's Wrath, right? I guess I'm the one that has the cards in front of me.
Land's Wrath, maybe?
Or Land's Wrath.
Land's Wrath, yeah.
Nature's Wrath is, don't me. I'll remember what Nature's Wrath is by the end of this.
Well,
I know I lost that
it's
attack.
close to Bulu.
It is Bulu.
Nature's Judgment is Bulu.
No, Bulu's Land's Judgment. What's Land's Wrath? Gosh dang it.
Someone in the YouTube comments is just like, oh, idiots.
Oh no, it is Landsrath. Is it not Landsrath? Oh no,
It,
what was I saying?
you were
'Cause now
saying
I'm looking at
nature.
Landsrath.
You were saying nature's wrath. Land's judgment is
Land's Judgment
Landorus.
is Earth EX. Okay.
Landorus EX. Good catch, Stellar. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
I remember Landorus, but I thought that I switched out the first word, not the second word. I don't remember.
Anyway, we do finally have a
I've been up since
break for our
5:30.
Greninja. Yeah, yeah, you'll get a pass. Not super
Yeah.
high stakes on remembering your attack names for older Pokemon.
I don't know. I take a lot of value in that.
Yeah,
Chat can quiz me in between matches.
there we go.
That matters.
So we did see a KO on that Zygarde. We did finally find a break evolution for Greninja. Kash with only one energy in play, definitely not where they want to be. Oh, I think there might have been a
But you're
enhanced hammer
far
played,
ahead of
yeah.
me now. I just saw the enhanced hammer played.
Maybe try
This Zygarde hasn't even been knocked out yet.
refreshing the stream, maybe.
That's what I did do to try to get closer to the front. I think it just put me further behind.
Oh no.
Limitless has a TCG extension? What? That's so cool. Or sorry, Limitless has a Twitch extension?
It does.
That's awesome. Oh, okay.
I know
actually
that one.
know that one.
At least I think I do. I think I do.
Okay, I know what I'm remembering the other one right now. The other one was Derail. I'm pretty sure.
It's definitely not that one. Yeah. The question.
I know that's what the other one is.
The question was, what is Drifblim's attack? The one that does 50 damage for each. It's a special energy.
Yes.
In your opponent's discard pile. Back from one of the, I think it was a black and white promo.
It was from Dragons
too.
Exalted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from Dragons Exalted. You put in the Rogue Flareon deck. I'm not going to waste all my time thinking about this, but because I do want to commentate the match, but
I think it'll
was
be
like, in the back burner.
Was it? Oh my God! It was Shadow something, wasn't it?
I know that it's 2 words, and I also think it's Shadow something.
Yeah. Or maybe we're thinking of Shadow Stitching so much because we are seeing so much of it in this top 4 match. So.
That's actually really funny.
Yeah. But Kash is still very energy starved, so you know, the ends that are repeatedly coming down while Kash is still drawing supporter cards, not drawing energies to attack with, not able to put out any pressure. And Greninja's very quickly catching up. Only 3 prizes left to Kash's 2. But while Kash may be ahead in the prize race here, with only 1 energy in play, the amount of pressure that can be put out this turn and following turns is very, very minimal. Announcer's Curse right into the energy top deck, but even that, like, I mean, that's the start you needed. But attacking with Cell Connector here just puts all of your eggs still in this one Zygarde basket. And it can get KO'd next turn with a couple of giant water shurikens into an attack. So Kash really needs some, maybe some max elixirs here. I'm not sure how many have been played. Not finding any there.
Think about the fact that Kash hasn't gone for a Lycanroc either game. Do you think that Lycanroc is an approach this matchup that may be useful, or do you think that just straight Zygarde's been the way to go? The thing that I'm thinking about Lycanroc is that Dangerous Rogue GX is a much bigger one-shot than using the 4 energy attack on Zygarde. Like if you just hit an elixir on the basic and then you evolve it.
I think it becomes a weaker attacker later, though, and it is reliant on DCE, and we do know that Greninja plays the 3 enhanced hammer, so I think that might be a consideration potentially, because the Zygarde is very self-sufficient in setting itself up. Gazer, thank you so much for those bits. Yes, I did rebrand a little bit, so this is the first official stream as Riley Wren TCG. Hope you're enjoying the new layouts and everything.
What a big notable thing.
Yeah, this is a big upgrade. I changed all of my socials to the exact same thing. Specifically because people like Gazer had been saying that Stardust Songbird was really hard to say. It's it's a mouthful. So I thought, you know what, change it to just by name. That was kind of the point all along anyway. Was like, I'm very public about who I am as a person. So I think it fits very much with my personality. So yeah, but glad everyone is here. You still know who it is. So glad that everyone can be here, yourself included, Gazer. So thanks for stopping in. But this one seems, this game here seems like it is very, very much going in Greninja's favor. There is no way that a knockout is being taken on either of these breaks this turn. And we just see kind of a desperate, bring up your Lele, hope you can't move it, even though there is a Starmie on board. So I think that this one is pretty much just all on the table, able to use Space Beacon to get back some water energies, a couple water shurikens, although you can only use one giant water shuriken this turn since the Greninja has to be in the active to use its abilities. So maybe Kash doing just enough to buy one more turn, which, I mean, to be fair, could be all that he needs. If he does top deck something like a Guzma out, could bring back up this Lele, assuming that the game is not just immediately over on board. We could see, I don't think the math lines up quite enough with giant water shuriken into a Moonlight Slash with a choice band. I think that's still only 170. So
it would need to be a Guzma in general, because you need to have two giant water shurikens in the picture.
And a Guzma at that point would just win you the game anyway.
Correct.
So we do see the giant onto the Oranguru. Yeah, but unless... Oh, and there's the end, too. I was going to say, unless Kash can top deck a Guzma this turn, but this will make it even harder. Although, N has been proven to be a lie in the past. This time does not look like is one of those times. I think Lime definitely... Of course, I say right into the Sycamore top deck, but I don't think that's enough to keep you from losing the game here. Stellar.
Yeah, sadly, drawing cards is not... When you need to be able to take a knockout on the bench, drawing cards does not help you.
The answer to our trivia question, for those keeping track at home, was Shadow Steel. I think my guess would have been Shadow Skip. But Shadow Steel was the correct answer to the Drifblim's attack. So, for those of you who got it...
I got Derail. I'm happy about that.
You did get Derail, yeah.
I got the bad one, which might be more important. That's the real trivia.
Right. Which is the worst one?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this one is just
Riley,
all
if you're ever...
locked
Oh,
up.
this is totally unrelated, but if you're ever looking to get some friends and host Pokemon Jeopardy, I did make a Pokemon Jeopardy for a regionals trip.
100% on board with that.
It's already prepared, yeah. And I actually need to make the thing soon, but I think I'm going to make like a Pokemon Family Feud for the locals Christmas party, and I need to post it in like Verbank and all that stuff that people can like answer it, so I have sufficient data.
We did quickly, just to touch on what we saw there. We did see Kash conceding game 2, so we will go into a high stakes game 3 here. I mean, and you said it before, I think you said it last game, that the approach for Kash here has to be take as many early KOs as you can, and energy attachments have to be the priority for sure, right?
Yeah, and this, if you think about it, this was also the game that he only did the 50 damage to the Frogadier. So that was like a prize that could have been behind. And the Greninja deck works on momentum, like getting the second Greninja in play gives you enough time to get the third Greninja in play. The splash energy gets you your next Greninja in play. So, like, every knockout that you get in the early phases of the game against Greninja is like one less big threat they can have later on in the game. So
yeah, exactly.
Where it seems like 20 damage early on, it's like 20 damage and an evolution and having to take another attack that's not a land judgment on a larger threat. It definitely does.
Well, this opening hand has energy and nothing really else outside of this Lele to find It looks like a Sycamore. So one good thing about opening with a ton of energy in your hand like this is that Sycamore is actually able to set up for exactly what we see Kash is going to be able to do. Drawing that Zygarde and a double colorless energy, you can use Cell Connector and get good value out of the energies that you discarded, since you're able to attach them to that Zygarde. Of course, this is Kash's first turn since we did the pass, so they won't be able to attack, which is why we see the basic fighting being attached, playing around the potential of Enhanced Hammer. But the rest of this hand looks terrible.
Wait a second. I thought that? Oh, he drew a card from the mulligan and then drew a card to do the whole back and forth turn thing. I was like, why was there an extra draw? So
Yeah, it's kind of hard to cheat on
we do
TCGO,
see.
thankfully. So this is something I wanted to
No,
bring up.
it wasn't cheating. I was
No,
just
yeah, I
like,
know.
why is there a third card drawn?
So I want to bring something up really, really quickly. So what we just saw from Lime was the bench of a Froakie and a pass. So not that there's much Kash can do about this regardless, one way or another, but when you're playing against Greninja, sometimes they might just be sitting on all they need, right? They have energy attachment, Frogadier, or an out to Frogadier. So while you think your opponent might be dead drawing, they could just be sitting there and holding their, perfect combination for the following turn to get the water duplicate. Since that's all they really need to get set up, they need that water duplicates. Of course, they could actually be dead drawing here, and Kash does whiff the KO.
I actually just assume that my Greninja, I give them the benefit of the doubt, because if the Greninja player doesn't have everything they need, then you win that game anyway. So I just assume that they have a good hand most of the time.
I think that's a pretty reasonable assumption, though. You just kind of assume that they have it, right? But people get very sucked into the, oh,
Yeah.
you didn't play a supporter, your hand must suck. And it's like, well, not necessarily.
Yeah,
Attached to
I think if
Buzzwole
it's
there
your
in
first turn,
chat.
you have like two. If you have like two Froakies, a Frogadier, and an Energy, I don't think you play anything.
So Vinny, I think the argument for attacking, so Vinny was saying, would it have been better to attack with Buzzwole and Jet Punch there? I think the argument in favor of Zygarde is that you get more energy in play on the Zygarde itself, so you can take more aggressive, you can take an aggressive KO all the way up to a regular Greninja, as long as you get energy through Cell Connector on it. So I think I like that better, because Buzzwole, you can't really take the follow up to a Jet Punch wouldn't have been been very good. I think it's less about the damage than it is about the energy getting accelerated there. And a little bit of a switch up. Well, the Enhanced Hammer comes down, but I was going to say we did see the attachment to the Rockruff, so maybe something to a nod to what you were talking about last game, where attacking with Lycanroc could be an option. You do get the option for Dangerous Rogue, so I think maybe Kash playing toward that, the DCE with the DCE on the Rockruff, but it does just get Enhanced Hammered away in the end.
Did it show fire energies on my guard? Did you see that?
Yeah, it's a visual glitch.
That must have been a bug.
Yeah, no, it's
Huh.
some weird like visual glitch. It's been happening for a little while. Super weird.
This is what I get for not playing TCGO. I don't even know the glitches.
Wow, and once again, Kash's hand off of an end just not looking so great. We do get another energy attachment to the Lycanroc, but it's still a special energy. So these Enhanced Hammers are able to kind of keep that second threat from getting built up. And that's a huge thing that we saw the end of game 2, where Kash kind of just ran out of energy in play on attackers. And even in game 1, was definitely getting to a point where there were not a lot of energy on threats. There weren't enough threats established. So these Enhanced Hammers are really putting in
Kash
work.
definitely
to keep
has
that away.
more liabilities. Kash has a lot more liabilities on his board to be prizes this game, which is a little bit scary if you're rooting for Zygarde, or maybe if you're just rooting for a not Greninja final. But that's up to you. Which, speaking of, I only say it in jest because I did just check the standings, and it does appear that Lee Boyd did beat his opponent on the Zoroark Golisopod to make finals 2-1.
Wow. Okay. So just waiting on the results of this match here before we can get into our finals matchup. Still kind of hanging in the balance. The retreat of the Greninja is not a good sign, though. And
Yeah,
yes, please
Greninja
no
Mirror,
Frog Mirror.
my part might just conveniently go out for the Greninja Mirror. I don't know. I kid. But we'll have to do our darndest to make it interesting.
Wow.
Maybe that's when we put out the Pokemon
And this is
trivia.
exactly what Kash needs, though. We are going to get a KO. We did finally charge up the Lycanroc, and we have a Guzma on this Greninja. So the only Greninja that's in play for Lime is about to go down. We do have to splash energy on it, so at least they'll be able to... Actually, no, it's a basic water, so they won't even get that. This Greninja's just going down. Kash just kind of like drawing exactly what's needed, which is definitely good when you are going down to 3 prizes and taking the only Greninja out of play. So there's no threat of a break on the following turn. It is actually just not possible.
That's definitely the offense that Kash needs to win this game, considering that the only way to knock out a break is with double strong energy, and that's just not going to happen.
Well, we do still have the Dangerous Rogue. So
yeah, Dangerous Rogue. Yeah. Yep.
And that it goes back to what you were saying last game about, attacking with that Lycanroc. So paying off in this game. The N comes down, but Kash's hand wasn't so great. We did have that Scorched Earth, which is a card that we have not mentioned in the matchup yet, but it does allow Kash to discard basic fighting energy and draw, I believe it's 2 cards, which fuels the Cell Connector, and it's also really good against N if you can draw the Stadium and a basic fighting energy. Can help you potentially draw out of that. But this one is not looking great. Again, it's just a retreat of the only Greninja into another Froakie, and Kash does have a Guzma here. Can also just take the KO on the active and go down to 2 prizes, but I think you have to value chasing after that Greninja. You could take out the Lele if you wanted to be really aggressive, but I think the Greninja is the correct call.
You get far more longevity from taking a knockout on the highest stage that's on the board than you do your other alternatives. It's just very powerful because when you knock out a Greninja, it means the next thing that you're going to knock out is going to be a Greninja. If you knock out the Tapu Lele, you might be having to try to fight through a Zoroark break. And so now that you're attacking with Lycanroc and you haven't used your GX yet, you know that you have either a big knockout on a Greninja break, which you don't have to worry about now. You can also save it for Lele for 2 prizes.
So the interesting thing, and actually Vinny was just mentioning this in the chat, so with the Guzma in hand, we could have targeted down that Lele, taken it out, and then since you do have the Land's Wrath, which would have been enough to take the KO with the strong energy in the Choice Band, but and then you would have had 2 attackers that could have one-shot pretty much anything on the board on the following turn, going down to 1 prize. So I think that that might have been a line that was missed. I think holding the Guzma is just saying like, okay, well, I win next turn with this play and just doing it in a different order. And I think that's what we are going to see here. The game is going to be over on this Lele going down to that Land's Wrath. 170 damage, or we could use the Verdict GX2 for 200. That's definitely better. But not getting end there from Lime, and Kash will take the series, move into finals.